All right, guys, we are doing a deep dive on Cécile Zarokian. We've got 23 Cécile Zarokian fragrances here. Originally, I thought I had 24, and I was hoping to get 25 for a nice, even rounded number, but sadly, we only have 23. I thought I had Epic Woman, the original, but I did not have it here. So we've got 23 Cécile Zarokian fragrances we're going to go over. This is a deep dive video of fragrances created by Cécile Zarokian. Obviously, we've got Amouage, we've got a lot of Jacques Fath, we've got Jovoy, we've got Nishane, and various other brands along the way. Let me know if you're a fan of Cécile Zarokian's creations. Do add a comment below. Let me know what are your favorite fragrances from Cécile Zarokian. Do you have a favorite that you love? Is there one that you do not like or care for? Do let us know. Add a comment below. And I'm just going to go over the fragrances and smell them and let you know what I think about them. Some I like more than others, obviously. And it's interesting. I'm going to tell you some of the interesting things. I find some fragrances similar to others that I have from one brand to another brand. They have similarities. So I'll let you know what those are as I'm smelling these fragrances on camera. And I have a long series of fragrances that are deep dive videos. I should say long series of deep dive videos, not long series of fragrances. So if you're into watching deep dive videos, long form, go ahead and tune in. I have it linked in the info box. You can watch one after another and learn about brands, notes, perfumers, obviously, and so on. So let's get started. First fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Amouage's Epic 56. This is it right here. Beautiful bottle. So I wasn't too familiar with Epic, and I like the highly concentrated fragrances from the house of Amouage. And this to me is a dry spice chai type effect. It's quite spicy. I think along the way there's some flowers, but for me, what I get from this is somewhat of a chai effect because it's a lot of dry spices in their kind of dry form, but beyond that or behind that, there's something creamy kind of surrounding the dryness as well. So it kind of balances out the fragrance. I believe there's some amber in the dry down as well. And when you smell this fragrance, you really actually, and you're familiar with a lot of Cecile's fragrances, you kind of have an understanding of her style. So this has similarities to other fragrances. Like if I focus really, really hard on these, like you can kind of smell some things that are also similar to some of the other fragrances that she's created. So she has a certain DNA that she uses, and she takes away and, takes out notes and puts new notes. But in the end, when you smell a lot of fragrances and you follow a particular brand or a perfumer, you kind of get to familiarize with their DNA or the creations they're doing. But this is super spicy, super intense, really, dry spices. There's a lot of pepper. I get a lot of pepper with this, but I'm getting the chai effect, and I'm getting that chai effect because that creaminess is adding some kind of a, creamy, liquidy effect against the dryness of the spices. Now, I don't know if there's any like warm spices like cloves and cinnamon in this. There might be some cardamom. I think Cecile loves to use cardamom. But in the end, it's a good fragrance. It's not one of my all-time favorite fragrances of hers. But I think if you love your spice bombs, I think you should definitely check out Epic 56 by Amouage. I believe the original had come out quite a long time ago, and that came out like 3 years ago, I think. But I think this one came out during the pandemic. This is Material from Amouage. Material is definitely one of my favorites from Cecile. I had forgotten about it, and for a while I was really hot on Royal Tobacco. But I kind of prefer Material over Royal Tobacco. I don't know why that is, because I'll get to the Royal Tobacco. I don't find a lot of tobacco in Royal Tobacco, to be honest. Or there might be tobacco in there. It's covered up quite a bit, so I don't experience the tobacco. In fact, Royal Tobacco to me comes off like a Christmas tree because there's a lot of green, kind of piney kind of smells against all the ambery notes and stuff. But what I like about Material is I would call this an amber vanilla. Lots of vanilla, lots of amber, lots of resins. My kind of fragrance. I love these amber vanilla type fragrances. And beyond that, also you get this kind of a doughy texture. I think there's balsamic notes here. It's quite resinous. It's just a really beautiful and also very cozy, and smoky too, kind of a, amber vanilla fragrance. I think along the way you get a lot of spices as well and woods. But again, I think going through some of these fragrances, this might be my favorite, but there's one more that is probably going to be the last one I talk about that she's created for Amouage that might actually beat this one, but this is definitely my kind of fragrance. I love these warm, spicy, ambery, vanillic fragrances. Really love them, and I think she did a great job on this one. It could remind you of fragrances like Le Lion, maybe Shalimar, maybe, I don't know, any of these kind of very famous, popular amber vanilla fragrances. Super lovely material from Amouage, created by Cécile Zarokian. One that's quite challenging for me is Silver Oud. It's Opus 13. And I hadn't noticed this before, but there's a fragrance from the house of Le Monarque, I guess it's called V. They do have similarities, and I'll get to those comparisons in a bit. But Silver Oud is dark, smoky, and quite animalic. Leathery as well. And the juice is quite dark. It stains the strip, so don't spray it on a white shirt. Oh, this also has fecal touches. It's quite poopy. And the thing is, the older this bottle gets, the juice inside, the stronger it gets, the more matures and macerates in there, and the poopier it gets. So, I like animalic fragrances. Some of my favorite animalic fragrances are like Salome by Papillon Perfumery, Musque's Kubla Khan, Sadonaso, Filthy Musk. This one, to me, focuses on the poopiness too much. It's quite animalic. Is it the oud that's the animalic variety that she's using here? Are there other notes that she's using here that creates the animalic qualities? But it is quite poopy, and it's a challenging fragrance for me. And I know some people appreciate fragrances like these. It's not for me, unfortunately. I will appreciate it because, I appreciate fragrances like this. It's a great work of art, but it doesn't make it easy for me to wear fragrances like this. And I like ouds, but I don't want to be challenged by, wearing something that comes off the way I just explained to you. But let me know your thoughts. Do you appreciate Silver Oud? Are you a fan? Do you get the poopiness that I do? Which do you like more, material or Silver Oud? Let me know, add a comment below. And then we're talking about Royal Tobacco. And yeah, this one, I was all hot for it. I really loved it. But I think when I compare it to Material, I appreciate Material more. And then the one that's coming after this. And to me, there's like licorice and anise in this fragrance, which I love these spices in fragrances. Love them. They're not used much. But as soon as I smelled it, it smells like Christmas tree, which there's nothing wrong with that. I love Christmas trees, freshly cut Christmas tree with snow covered on it. Snow, I don't know, but it gives me that kind of a vibe all along with a kind of an ambery resinous experience. And of course, whatever tobacco is in here. So to me, it doesn't act tobacco-ish much. But what I'm smelling, I like. I like that kind of almost like menthol-y kind of touch the notes are providing. That's kind of taking it to smelling like a Christmas tree. Do you guys get the Christmas tree from this? Is it just me? When I was young in the 80s, we used to get live Christmas trees, obviously. We didn't do fake, although lately it's been more fake, although I don't do Christmas trees anymore. But my mom has a fake Christmas tree because it's not good to be cutting the trees down. There used to be a spray that you would add to the freshly cut tree, and it made it smell like a Christmas tree, like a lot. Well, it made it smell stronger, and it takes me to that day or those days when we were putting the Christmas tree up, and spritzing that stuff on the tree, whether it was a fake tree or a real tree, just to amplify the smell. This gives me that kind of an idea, which is very, very festive and very, very Christmassy. So I think it could be a great fragrance to wear during the Christmas months. I mean, there's no rules. Wear it any time of the year, anytime you want. But it reminds me of a Christmas tree, which is not a bad thing. But I don't get much tobacco. I think the tobacco in this is hidden with a lot of the other stuff that's going on with it. But once you get past that, once you're okay with it, I think it smells great. So that's Royal Tobacco from Amouage. And then the next one, and the last Amouage fragrance we're going to talk about, is Outlands. Super, super good. Really, really great. I really love this one. Do I love it more than Material, though? What do you guys think? I don't know what happened with Material. I loved it when it first came out. I lost interest in it. And I came back to it, and I love it a lot more. Same thing happened with Ani. I got bored of it. I came back to it. Recently mentioned it in a video. I think it was my autumn notes video where I featured vanilla, because I love vanilla. And I said, oh my God, this is such a great fragrance. I had kind of forgotten about it, moved on, and came back. The same thing with Material. I love Material. I think Material is still my number one here. But this is a really close behind number one. It's so close, almost like neck and neck close. But what I like about this one, it's got a super sexiness about it. It's super spicy. And it's got a bit of a menthol, eucalyptusy kind of touch, but there's patchouli in this. So it's super spicy and aromatic. But it's so good. It's really, really good. It's tough to decide between Outlands and Material. Which one is your favorite? It's tough to decide. I would equally tie those two fragrances together. They're both really good. But for me, even though patchouli is my number one favorite fragrance, as a style, I prefer ambery fragrances, resinous fragrances, vanillic fragrances a lot more. Because amber is more of a style to me, not necessarily a note. And patchouli obviously is a note. So in the end, when I'm deciding on fragrances, there's more ambery styles, because there's so many different types of ambers and resins and, balsams and things like that, in comparison to one kind of patchouli, basically. Although there are variations on patchouli, I think more, for me, the style of an amber fragrance is one I would go for more of the times, or most of the time. But Outlands is so good. It's really tough to decide between these two. Anyway, let me know which one is your favorite. Let's move on to Creed. So Cecile did a Creed fragrance. It's Zarian. So if you guys have noticed, Cecile's last name is Zarokian. This is Zarian. Cecile is her last name is Armenian, and I am also Armenian. So is this a name based off of her last name, Zarian, Zarokian, Zarian? I don't know how they got that, but what do you guys think about Zarian? So Zarian smells a bit boozy to me, but also reminds me of Royal Tobacco. Zarian is giving me malt vibes. Like if you ever go to a bar and you get this like really nice beer, the foam on top has a smell. It kind of gives me that kind of a smell. I'm not too experienced with Zarian yet. I love the name, and I wanted to, discover it because it is created by Cécile Zarokian. And I was thinking there's a coincidence with the name of the fragrance and the last name of Cecile. So it's quite interesting. I'm not sure it's one of my favorite fragrances. I mean, it reminds me a little bit of Royal Tobacco, and I prefer Royal Tobacco over Oud Zarian. But I do have to play around with it a little bit more. But for some strange reason, I do get the kind of the beer foam. A little bit, not too much. Also, I forgot to mention, guys, there's a new ScentClub kit out there. If you haven't tried it yet, we've got kit number 17. It has dropped. It's selling now. 3 great fragrances for you. We've got Maître Parfumeur Gantier's Parfum de Habit. We have Chemin de Monde from Nuit Nomade. And we've got Ethereal Soul from the House of Reinvented. So this is linked in the info box. And head over and check it out right now. It's a really great collection of fragrances. And the boxes are really easy to travel with if you want to take it along, or you can take the bottles out and just travel with the bottles. So we only had one Creed fragrance. Let's do the next single brand fragrance. It's Electimuss London, and it's Vanilla Edesia. So I enjoy Cécile Zarokian's fragrances quite a bit, but this is not one of my favorite fragrances, unfortunately. I think it grows on you, but to me, when I wear it, it comes off extremely busy, super complex. And it's been a while since I've smelled it. I'm actually appreciating a little bit more now because, tastes change. Fragrances come off a bit too overwhelming. Later on, you're adapted to it. It's not smelling like I remember. It's actually smelling a bit more pleasant. The creaminess actually has come through on this one. Still, though, it's not one of my favorite fragrances, unfortunately. Seems kind of dark, seems kind of muted, and definitely not a gourmand. This is not gourmand for me. It seems like a very spicy take on vanilla. Like the vanilla is being attacked by all kinds of notes that might contrast with the note of vanilla by itself. What do you guys think? Are you a fan of Vanilla Edesia? Let me know. And let me know if you've had that experience. You've hated a fragrance or you haven't loved it. It's been a year plus since I sampled that fragrance. It's not as bad as I remember it. Like, I didn't really click with it. I'm fine with it now. Still not my favorite. But that tends to happen with a lot of fragrances for me. I mean, of course, there are the fragrances that I instantly fall for. But there's a lot of fragrances that I don't really enjoy when I smell it. And then later on, I come back to it and I start kind of, enjoying it. So let's move on to the house of Jacques Fath. And we've got 6 fragrances from this house. Recently, I did a video on some of their fragrances were at the discounters. I think they were discontinued fragrances from Jacques Fath. So if you didn't catch those deals online, if they are online, I'll tag the fragrances. And actually, I'll tag all these fragrances as much as I can and through the YouTube shopping portal. But I think she did a great job with Belle Ambre. Belle Ambre, Curaçao Bay, and the redo of Green Water. I think, well, actually also Vers le Sud, which I have hardly any left. Although I did buy a bottle from the discounter. I think those were really great. I think the first 4 Jacques Fath fragrances that Cécile Zarokian did when they first launched in 2015 in these large bottles, I think those were really good. Really, really great fragrances. And sadly, Vers le Sud is discontinued. It's the fig one, the kind of marine fig. But Belle Ambre, Curaçao Bay, and Green Water are still selling. So you can find them. But Belle Ambre is a really gorgeous, bright, syrupy, powdery, resinous amber fragrance. Not too daring, easily worn, If you like warm, spicy resin amber fragrances, you'd really appreciate this. If you appreciate fragrances like Grand Soir, definitely this is an easy to wear amber. Not animalic, not too overwhelming with something that kind of might bug you or something, but a pleasant amber, really golden, warm, spicy, you know. There's a coziness about it too, because I find these kind of notes super cozy. But yeah, I think it's a really great take on an amber, but one that's very easy to wear. There's nothing challenging about that one. But this was actually very challenging for me when it first launched. I had a hard time with this so much, but I've grown to enjoy this fragrance, and I'm shocked I'm enjoying it. This is Curaçao Bay from the house of Jacques Fath. I think this is a fairly popular fragrance for the house. Probably one of the more popular marine fragrances, but I had a hard time with it. Those of you that have challenging time with marine notes, and there are many of you out there, I know, because I get the comments all the time. There are some people that don't understand why us that were challenged with marine notes are challenged with marine notes. This fragrance to me is kind of a beachy, creamy marine fragrance. But for me, it was really overwhelming with the kind of seaweedy kind of cologne notes. I was more sensitive to it. I think that's what I should say, because you get to, I don't know, I don't want to use the word enjoy, but you learn a certain note and it doesn't become challenging. Like, let's say, for example, first time you ever ate hot peppers and, you know, you want to do more, but slowly but surely you can, you know, eat hot peppers. It's kind of a similar thing here. I mean, at one time you're not really appreciating it, but you come close to it more and more and your nose gets used to it. And that's what's happened with me here. And I do appreciate this fragrance. I think it's definitely a really awesome marine fragrance for a great example of a marine, beachy, tropical kind of fragrance. Let me know if you're a fan of Curaçao Bay. I think, like I said, this is probably one of the more popular from the brand. You might find it at discounters. I think you might find all of these fragrances at discounters. I'll have them linked. But the one that this brand is known for, now Jacques Fath was a fashion house, and it no longer is a fashion house. A company has bought out the name Jacques Fath, and they only release fragrances now. If you guys didn't know, one of their iconic fragrances is Green Water. So basically, Cecile had reformulated that fragrance and modernized it. And so they launched this, I think in 2015, 10 years ago, or maybe 2016, somewhere around there, this launched. It was selling at Barney's here, these large bottles of the 4 fragrances. The first 4 I'm going to talk to you, including the first 2 that I talked about, Green Water and also Vers le Sud, were all selling at Barney's. And Green Water is a classic fragrance, kind of similar in the style of like Eau Sauvage. I believe it was a men's fragrance. I think it's considered unisex now. And it reminds me of my dad. Go figure that out. It's the classic green, aromatic, spicy, citrusy, cologne style fragrance. Super awesome. It's been a while since I put my nose on Green Water. I do appreciate this fragrance. It really does remind me of my dad and his colognes in the 70s. This is reminding me more of the 70s rather than the 80s, because I do remember him wearing this in the 70s, not in the 80s. But obviously it was not in this bottle. It was in a different bottle because it's gone through so many different bottles. But this is the relaunch of Jacques Fath in like 2015, 2016. And so now the brand has other fragrances. I think the brand is now working with Jean-Christophe Hérault. I did a video with Jean-Christophe Hérault, who is an IFF perfumer, International Flavors and Fragrances. He created Aventus, and he's created the last 4 fragrances for Jacques Fath, the last of which is Musque Couture, from Jacques Fath, and I've got a video on the channel with Jean-Christophe Herrel. But Green Water, if you love classic men's fragrances, definitely try this. Really awesome, great citrus aromatic, spicy fragrance. But the next fragrance is called Red Shoes. Now, this was not part of the initial drop of 4 fragrances. This came several years later. Red Shoes to me... Oh, my cap is a bit broken. Red Shoes to me is kind of like Rouge Trafalgar from Dior. Super juicy, fruity, fresh fragrance. Yep. What I like about this one, in comparison to Rouge Trafalgar, there's a bit more of an amped up patchouli-like note in here that I like and I find super sexy. But if you like fresh, fruity, berry, kind of red berries kind of fragrances, this should satisfy. It's also acting a bit like a chypre. Maybe there's some rose in here. Yeah, it's the similar idea to Rouge Trafalgar by Dior, but not smelling identical. It's great. It's a great one. It's a very fresh one, but it has some depth because of that kind of patchouli-like experience I'm getting in the base. Really lovely. I love that. I am now rediscovering that one. But the next fragrance is called Tempête d'Automne. I can't remember if this one is still selling. I know I featured it in the video. I think it's discontinued. This is, I believe, one that was discontinued from now what I remember. I'll link it if you guys are up for it. But these caps, sadly, are not very well made, the last two. But this to me is an autumn fragrance in a bottle. There's definitely like a creamy, milky note here, but it's got spices. It's interesting also, there is another fragrance that I associate with autumn that Cecile has made also for a brand called SULEKO. This is called Baba Yaga. I'll get to that in a little bit. But they have similarities. I think, obviously a perfumer knows formulas and things. So the fragrances might be kind of similar, but whereas Baba Yaga, the other fragrance that I'll get to later, does have a dryness about it, this one, to me, has a creamy milkiness about it. And I believe it literally has a note of milk, so it acts milky. But to me, it smells like autumn, kind of dried vegetation, kind of dried, maybe light fruits, amber, woods, dry, but then you've got this creaminess that's balancing it out, makes it for a very cozy wear. I love autumn season, but I also like cozy fragrances in the autumn, and the milkiness in that and the autumn-like experience is a great fragrance to enjoy and appreciate something that not only acts like autumn, but also use it to, be soothed and relaxed and comforted in the autumn months, if that makes sense. And the last fragrance, and this is part of the first 4 that launched by Jacques Fath, all 4 created by Cécile Zarokian, is called Vers le Sud. This is the one I did the video on. I love this fragrance. I think this one is definitely for sure discontinued. That's why I did that video. This is a marine fig fragrance. I can see why this might not be so popular. I know fig fragrances can be very popular, but I love it. It smells really, really great. You have the green bitterness, spiciness, earthiness, of woodiness of the leaves, and there's definitely marine notes, marine sea breeze or something marine running across it to give it that kind of a more like a summery, green vegetation, breezy kind of experience. I love that. It's great. It's sad that it's discontinued. I think one of the first fragrances I reviewed from Jacques Fath when they relaunched was for Vers le Sud. In fact, this is the bottle that I reviewed. As you can see, there's hardly any left in here. But I did buy one from the promotion, so I have a backup now. But let me know if you guys caught that deal. Let me know if you enjoy Vers le Sud. Let me know if you enjoy the brand Jacques Fath. Add a comment below. And what is your favorite fragrance from Jacques Fath? Okay, so we've got 2 fragrances from Jovoy. So Private Label and Remember Me. So Private Label is a super masculine, butch, men's woody, spicy, boozy fragrance. There's a noise out there that I'm not really appreciating. So this one has papyrus and vetiver. Oh, that noise is gone, thankfully. A lot of vetiver and papyrus. I think the papyrus, or if it's not papyrus, it could be cypriol. These two notes are kind of related, and they provide a booziness to woody fragrances. In fact, sometimes when I see these notes and they're trying to create a booziness in fragrances, they provide a kind of a barrel smell, barrel with booze. So this is quite boozy. This is the picture I'm painting here is this gentleman's club, dark. You can smoke a cigar in there for sure, and sipping on whiskey. It's very, very masculine. It's a dark fragrance, woody, very spicy, earthy, maybe a bit leathery as well, but also smoky. There's definitely smoky touches, and I think the vetiver and also the cypriol or papyrus is providing that. And then don't forget it's boozy, because this definitely has a booziness, and that's where I get the whiskey from. And what I see is a man with a sport coat and a turtleneck. It's quite cold outside, and the cigar and the whiskey is what's warming up this gentleman that's in this dark bar, a gentleman's club. That's what I get with Private Label. Let me know your thoughts. Do you get that kind of an experience? So for a completely opposite fragrance from Private Label, we've got Remember Me. So Francois Hanen of Jovoy had told me early on when Remember Me had come out that, I don't know if it's still true, but he had told me that all of the fragrances of Jovoy are French names except for the ones that Cécile Zarokian creates. So I can't remember what the latest fragrances are. I think they're still on the French side. But Remember Me and, of course, Private Label are English names, English words. But Remember Me, super milky, cozy fragrance. So opposite of what Private Label is. I think this is when I first started noticing that Cecile likes to use cardamom. There's probably ginger here as well. This is like a chai tea latte experience. It's a tea fragrance. But it's super yummy. I don't know if I can compare this to Ani. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. Oh my God, this is good. Both of the Jovoys are super, super awesome and super completely different. They're nothing alike. Really wonderful. Remember Me is one of the coziest fragrances ever. I think it's that milkiness, the creaminess that really, really makes it like super cozy and calming. As soon as I smell this, I want to have a milky tea. Like, literally. I want to stop everything, go home, make some tea, and sit in front of a TV. That's what it wants me to do. It's such a soothing, cozy fragrance. Let me know if you're a fan of Remember Me. Add a comment below. All right, now we're back to the Le Monarque V I mentioned. I didn't notice this before, but it reminds me of Silver Oud. And if you like the idea of Silver Oud, but you think it's way too animalic, you might try this one. This is not as animalic as Silver Oud, but I do get similarities between the two. It's also brighter than Silver Oud, which is darker and smokier. I mean, this is amber smoky, but the Amouage is just like a ferocious beast. This is like the cub, the baby, the more gentler. Still, there are beasts, but This is not as mature and ferocious as the leader or the father or whatever. So we've got smoky touches, ambery touches, resinous touches, most likely oud. But it's quite spicy. And there's a light musk under there with this one. Not animalic whatsoever. At least to me, it's not. But who's familiar with this brand? This is a sister house to... what's their name? I forget the name of the brand. Hold on. Okay, I do remember the name of the brand. I had to go look. But it's a sister house to Jules et Mad, which Cecile has done a lot of fragrances for them as well. But I don't think I have any of the fragrances she's done for them. At least I haven't double checked. But yeah, let me know if you're familiar with Le Monarque and also this specific fragrance. And if you know it, have you compared it to Silver Oud? Add a comment below. All right. It doesn't look like I have any Cecile fragrances for Jules et Mad. But let's move on to Masque Milano with Tango. So Tango was a late discovery for me. I really like it. It's another amber. Tango came out before Material. I think the ideas might be similar. There are differences for sure. The Tango seems to be brighter. The Amouage seems to be denser. And I think the type of notes that she's using in the Amouage, there's really resinous kind of notes. You really experience the texture of those notes. Here with the Tango, it's a great amber, don't get me wrong. It's really gorgeous. There's something a little bit more ease about it in comparison to the Material. Material, I wouldn't say it's a difficult fragrance, but I'm just saying the denseness of that fragrance, the deepness might be a bit overwhelming to some. And this one, Tango, might be a bit like lighter to wear. But both of them are great. I think I prefer Material though, come to think of it. But it's a solid amber. Spicy, resinous, powdery, maybe woody as well. A little bit. But it's about the amber. Who's a fan? And let me show you on top, it's got her name. Anyway, Tango from Masque Milano. All right, next, we're going to the house of Nishane, and we've got 3 fragrances from Nishane. First of which, of course, is Ani. Again, I was mentioning earlier, fragrances sometimes you get tired of. You put them away and you come back to them. They smell so good. Like, why did I even, put you away for that long, kind of a thing. It happened with Ani. It's an absolute love, this fragrance. Really love it. I really love the way it smells. Probably, I don't know if it's like what number it would be for Nishane. Is it like number 1 seller? I don't think so. But the way it's done, the cardamom, the ginger, the lemon with the vanilla is top-notch gorgeous. I also mentioned in that Autumn Notes video, this does give me light hints of something like Tigar, because the lemon is acting a little bit like the grapefruit in Tigar. There's ginger and, there's ginger and cardamom. But I guess there's not cardamom, but the ginger mostly. But this addition of the vanilla is what makes this fragrance so yummy. But it lightly kind of hints at fragrances like Tigar or Vibrato, things like that. But to me, it's almost like a contrast of warm and fresh. because the ginger and the cardamom are fresh notes. The lemons are fresh. The vanilla is warm. It's super awesome. Really lovely. I have also mentioned in the past, when this first came out, this reminded me a little bit of Dries Van Noten from the house of Frederick Malle. But I think it's because this also has sandalwood and it's vanilla. And the Dries Van Noten was also sandalwood and vanilla. It's just it didn't have the cardamom and the ginger and also the lemons. But when you strip those away, kind of gave me a similar idea. And I also mentioned, I think I heard that recently that they're bringing back Dries Van Noten from Frederick Malle as a different fragrance. So I'll announce that as soon as I hear more about it. But let's move on to Ani X. And for me, from what I remember with this, it was actually freshened up take on the fragrance Ani. So the lemon was brighter. And this actually gives you more of the idea of something like vibrato. Obviously, this DNA has vanilla, so that DNA didn't have it. But this Ani X goes further there because it's kind of giving me or acting like that a little bit. But if you like the idea of Ani, but you want more freshness, it's definitely great. To me, the lemons has a bit of a lemon lozenge-like experience with the cardamom and the ginger and the vanilla together. It's really, really wonderful. If you just want a little freshness, you go with the Ani X. Skip the Ani. Really, really great scent. Let me know if you're a fan of Ani X or Ani. All right, the next fragrance, also from Nishane, is one called Nanshe. So Nanshe, I should say, Nishane just launched Meant to Be Seen. Both of them are powdery fragrances, but they're so different, so completely different. What I like about this one is the patchouli in the base. Lots of rose in this one as well. It acts like makeup. I don't think Meant to Be Seen is like makeup. It's more powdery and musky and a bit vegetal, but they're both powdery fragrances, whereas this one to me acts like makeup. It's giving me also classic vintage vibes, maybe a bit Chypre-like vibes. I think this is a bit more niche than Ani. I don't think this is a popular fragrance for the brand, but it's quite enjoyable if you like, powdery fragrances with rose and patchouli and that makeup effect. I think it's a pretty solid offering. But to me, I think overall, Ani is definitely one of the best fragrances that Cecile has created. Top-notch fragrance. Great DNA. I love it. It could be tough deciding between Material and Ani. Which do you guys prefer? Okay, so we're almost at the end of our video. We've got 3 more fragrances left. First of which is SULEKO's Baba Yaga. So this is an interesting sculptural bottle. What do you guys think of this bottle? And do you guys know this brand? Comes with that. It's like a stopper, but I believe the brand had mentioned that you can use that as a ring. I don't wear jewelry except for the watch, so I don't do that. The bottle itself is pressed in, so you can't take that out, and you just use that to spray it. Who's familiar with this brand? Let me know. And to me, this gives me the idea of Tempête d'Automne. But as I was saying to you guys, Tempête d'Automne had the milky touches. When you strip away the milky touches, it's almost like Baba Yaga, and vice versa. But to me, this is dry, woody, spicy, autumn-like, autumnal. Cold a bit. There's not much warmth. For the Tempête d'Automne, the milk gave it warmth. Here, I don't get much warmth. It's a cold, cool, breezy kind of I mean, for some reason, when I think of this fragrance or I smell it, I think of leaves. Lots of leaves that have just dropped from the trees. Autumn leaves. I don't know why. I think it reminds me of the smell a little bit because when you're raking those leaves, you've got the smell coming off the leaves. That's what it reminds me of. I think there's a nutmeg note in this. It's quite prominent. At least it smells like nutmeg. And nutmeg to me, more than cloves or cinnamon, acts like autumn for some strange reason. Anyway, that is Baba Yaga by SULEKO. Now, Cécile Zarokian had a ton of fragrances that she had created. I don't have everything, obviously, but there were some brands that I was not very familiar with, and some I was, obviously, and just didn't have any of their fragrances. If there's anything missing here that I haven't spoken about, let me know what it is. Focus on things that are by brands I haven't talked about, because obviously there's probably some fragrances missing from the brands I already spoke about, but focus on some brands that I didn't speak about that Cecile has done. What are they? Do add a comment below. So next it's Café Cabanel from the house of Théo Cabanel. I took off the cap before I showed you the bottle. This to me reminds me a little bit of Material, but in a more gourmand way. Does it remind me of anything else in here? This reminds me of Material. But I think this one has coffee. It's milky. It's buttery. It's gourmand. But quite ambery as well. The ambery touches appear like somewhat a little later. Then it starts smelling like the amber that's in Material. I think this is the only fragrance that Cecile has done. I'm not 100%. I don't remember 100%. But what do you guys think? Have you tried this? Yeah, it's definitely a gourmand, but it's not super strong with the coffee. So just like the fragrance Intense Cafe from Montal, there's supposed to be coffee there, but you don't get a lot of coffee. It's just a milky rose experience with a faint reminder of something like coffee. But for me, I get more coffee from this Ristretto Intense Cafe over the Intense Cafe. This is kind of like that as well. It's not very much about the coffee here. It's supposed to be Café Cabanel, but to me, it's more of a fluffy drink you get at a coffee shop that doesn't have any coffee in it, but it might be milky, maybe a bit nutty, buttery, creamy, with like light touches of coffee. I'm not fans of those kind of drinks myself. I like my coffee to be coffee, but in a gourmand direction, I do enjoy this one. It's definitely appreciative. I like the texture of the butteriness in this. That you don't see butter in a fragrance much. I think there's butter listed as a note in this fragrance, but you can actually experience the creamy texture of the butter in this against the kind of latte-like touches. So that's Café Cabanel by Théo Cabanel. Who's familiar with that brand? That brand's been around for a while. I don't know what's going on with the brand lately. I think they just launched a new fragrance though. And then last but not least, we're talking about an indie house called Visitor. And this is Cabaret Nocturne. That's the last fragrance we're talking about. Now, this is an animalic fragrance, honestly, guys. Cecile can do animalic. But, whoa, this is strong. Really, really strong. Also, this is about tuberose. I don't know what it is about tuberose. Lately, I've been complaining about it. I don't know what it is about it, but I started out this hobby wanting to appreciate tuberose, but the deeper I get into it, the less I like tuberose. I don't know what it is. Has that happened to you guys? This is like a tuberose bomb, but there's some funk under there. I think it's inspired by a night of drinking and sex with a pretty woman that has tuberose perfume on. Something like that. Yeah, something about tuberose, I'm not appreciating it much anymore. Yeah, this is a bit challenging for me. The tuberose is just in your face, and it's kind of like a green tuberose. It's green for sure, like young tuberose. It's not acting, although I shouldn't say it's not acting like Fracas. There's a slight bubblegumminess about it because I get bubblegum from Fracas. It's challenging for me, unfortunately. Not only because it's tuberose, but it's got some animalic funk there. What do you guys think of this brand? Have you heard about it? This is called Visitor, and this is Cabaret Nocturne. And that's the last fragrance. 23 Cécile Zarokian fragrances. I wish I had more, but I don't, guys. But let me know your thoughts on these fragrances from Cécile Zarokian. Which one is your favorite? Do add a comment below. And also let me know what's missing from Cecile. And again, let me know brands that I haven't talked about. Because I've spoken, a lot about Amouage, Jacques Fath, Jovoy, Nishane. But there's probably other brands out there that she's worked on. But probably brands that are not as hyped or not as popular or famous. I wish I had some fragrances from Juliette Matte. I know she's done some fragrances for them. I just don't. And I don't even know if that brand is distributed in the States or not. I haven't seen them distributed in ages. But I appreciate you watching this video, a deep dive on Cécile Zarokian fragrances. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Let me know what you want to see next. Now that I'm back, I can shoot more deep dive videos. If you want to see a certain perfumer, let me know what it is. If you want to see a certain note, let me know what it is. Obviously, with perfumers, there's going to be less fragrances, and with notes, there's going to be a lot more. So it might be a bit more difficult and more challenging to do the longer videos. But is there a brand? Maybe there's a brand that you want to see me do a video on. But I have done quite a few already. I have a link in the info box. You can click that link to the playlist for all of the deep dive videos, and you can watch one after another. And you can, it'll be like hours and hours and hours, because there's videos on the channel that's close to 3 hours. And so a lot of information on certain notes, styles, genres, perfumers, brands, and so on. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, as I said, and do let me know what you want to see next. Add a comment below. Please like this video. Please share it. Subscribe to the channel. Click that bell icon, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.